Will China and Japan go to war? In November 2025, a single statement from Japan's prime minister could have just pushed two of the world's largest economies to the brink. What began as a quiet rivalry has suddenly escalated into a full-blown crisis, and it's about far more than territory. This is a fight over sovereignty, and it's getting worse by the day. Here's why this Cold War is heating up fast. The year 2025 has become a dangerous one for East Asia. The decades-long rivalry between China and Japan has erupted into a major international crisis. This isn't just about fishing rights or land disputes. The real issue here is sovereignty, and it all started with one provocative sentence from Japan's Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi. Her words have confirmed the fears of many. The Cold War between these two giants is not only real, but it's getting worse, and it's driven by one side's direct interference in the most sensitive issue imaginable. Prime Minister Takaichi, a staunch nationalist, lit the fuse. On November 7, 2025, when asked about a potential conflict over Taiwan, she declared that a military conflict in the Taiwan Strait would be a survival-threatening situation for Japan. Why are those three words so significant? Under Japanese law, declaring something a survival-threatening situation gives Japan's military, the self-defense forces, the legal authority to intervene. In simple terms, Takaichi was signaling that Japan could go to war with China over Taiwan. For China, this wasn't just a political insult, it was an attack on one of its most sacred principles. China considers Taiwan part of its territory, and interference in Taiwan is seen as a direct threat to China's sovereignty. Imagine if another country declared that a conflict in Hawaii or Puerto Rico was a survival threat to their nation and sent troops to intervene. That would be considered an act of war, and that's exactly how Beijing views Takaichi's words. She crossed the red line that China has drawn. Don't interfere with its internal affairs. To understand why this hurts so deeply, we need to look at history. For China, the 20th century was defined by foreign invasions and humiliation. From the 19th century onwards, Western powers and Imperial Japan carved up China, stole its land, and committed atrocities. Japan's brutal occupation during World War II still haunts China. So, when Japan, a nation that many feel has never fully atoned for its past, starts remilitarizing and threatening intervention in Chinese affairs, it feels like a dangerous repeat of history. Takaichi's call for a stronger military and her aggressive stance on Taiwan are seen not as defensive measures, but as the return of an expansionist mindset, fueled by forces outside Asia. But there's another factor driving this crisis: the United States. Many believe that Japan is not acting independently. Instead, they see Japan as a key piece in the U.S. strategy to contain China's rise on the global stage. Since the end of World War II, Japan has been closely tied to U.S. military power. When Takaichi makes these statements, she's seen as acting on behalf of Washington's long-term goal to prevent China from becoming the dominant power in Asia. By declaring Taiwan's fate a Japanese survival threat, Japan is essentially signing up to support the U.S. in any military operation against China. For China, this isn't just a Japan-China issue, it's part of a broader foreign-led encirclement. Given this history and the direct threat to its sovereignty, China's response was both predictable and necessary. China's foreign minister condemned Takaichi's remarks, calling them a shocking wrong signal to those seeking to break up China. But China's true power lies in its economy. To make Japan feel the consequences of its actions, Beijing immediately used its economic leverage. High-level trade talks were canceled, and China ramped up its ban on Japanese seafood imports. This hit Japan's fishing industry hard, especially in coastal communities. This wasn't economic bullying, it was a clear message: choose confrontation over cooperation, and your economy will pay the price. Why should Chinese consumers support a country whose government openly threatens war? China also sent unmistakable security warnings. The presence of Chinese Coast Guard vessels around the Diaoyu Islands, known as the Senkakus in Japan, has increased significantly. This is a way of showing Japan that China isn't backing down on territorial disputes. China also issued formal travel warnings to its citizens, urging them not to visit Japan. This move severely hurt Japan's tourism sector, highlighting how political decisions can directly harm everyday people and businesses. The internal reaction in Japan has been one of growing panic. Even within Japan, there's deep concern over Takaichi's actions. She's facing sharp criticism from her own political party. Former Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, who was recently replaced, publicly stated that Takaichi's remarks were rash. Ishiba argued that previous leaders managed this delicate relationship with much greater care to avoid exactly this kind of crisis. Business leaders and opposition politicians have called for Takaichi to retract her statement, fearing that the situation has pushed Japan to the brink of disaster. Their concern reflects the reality. Japan's economy depends on peace and stability in Asia, not becoming a military pawn for the United States. In conclusion, the current China-Japan crisis is a crucial test for East Asia's future. The root cause is clear. Japan's new government, driven by nationalism and external pressure, has chosen to interfere in China's most sensitive issue, Taiwan. China's response, using its economic and diplomatic power, is both justified and necessary. For peace to return, Japan must respect China's sovereignty and return to the path of dialogue and cooperation. Continuing on this current path will only lead to greater economic hardship for Japan and bring the region closer to a catastrophic conflict. As the situation between China and Japan continues to unfold, the question remains, will these two nations truly go to war over Taiwan? Or will cooler heads prevail and the region find a way to avoid disaster? The stakes are incredibly high, not just for China and Japan, but for the entire Asia-Pacific region and beyond. We want to hear from you. What do you think? Will Japan's actions lead to more tension, or is this just another bump in the road? Do you believe China will take further action, or will diplomacy win out? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on this critical situation.